Hi, my name is Hunter Mangin. This is my leisure travel vlog. This is all about my trip to Cuba. I talked a lot about my trip to Cuba in my journal entries, and without further ado, let's go. My family's trip to Cuba was to a resort on the northeast side of the country called Veradero. This is one of the largest resort towns in the Caribbean. Features beautiful beaches, vibrant environments, and the Unit 1 concept I'd like to connect this to is figure 4.4. It's got 15 leisure-based roles. According to the figure on this trip, we'd be classified as a mixture of a few. Definitely sun lovers is the main one. Our kind of goal was to just go somewhere hot. That's why we went in December, try to escape a little bit of the Manitoba winter. We'd also be a mix of organized and independent tourism, as we did have some group tours, but we also played it by ear a little bit and went off on our own. And you could also probably consider us escapists, since we did take lots of time for relaxing and enjoying the peace and quiet. Unit 2 discusses the transportation sector. Within Cuba, cars are very important to that. We were also very happy to utilize the cars, as we were a family of 6, so we only needed 2, and we could they were super flexible, is why we loved them. So we took a 2-hour drive to Havana one day, and that was beautiful. We paid the cab drivers because they were from there. They would we paid them extra, and they would basically be a tour guide, and it was his own cool experience because of the old cars and whatnot. Unit 3 is about marketing. This connects to my personal experience really well, because my expectation from Cuba came from what I previously knew, which was kind of from social media, travel websites, and even movies. I saw pictures of blue water, white beaches, vintage cars, and beautiful resorts. Tourism boards and resorts use specific strategies like branding, visual storytelling, and online reviews to make this place look relaxing, affordable, and unique. Um, I completely fell for it, and it was kind of right to my expectation. On this slide here, one of these are my photo, and the other one's from a tourist board. So in terms of beaches, they're completely right to advertise. Major concept from Unit 4 relevant to my Cuban trip is the environmental impact of tourism and its sustainability challenges. At the time, I didn't really think about it, but looking back, the flight alone produced large carbon footprints, and the all-inclusive resort probably used a lot of water, electricity, and waste. We were pretty good. We took a direct flight. We didn't use AC really, and we didn't use plastic cups ever. It was all reusable. Sustainability is really important, and it's about finding balance. It's important to let people travel, but also protect the environment. This trip helped me see that that's pretty difficult. To connect my Cuban trip to something related to Unit 5, I could go many ways, but I'll go with visiting a less developed country. Cuba isn't officially a least developed country, but I spoke on expectations before, and I had some idea that there was definitely poor areas of Cuba, but especially on the taxi trip to Havana, I noticed big differences in infrastructure, levels of incomes, and resource differences between the tourists and the locals. This was especially obvious when we tipped our cab drivers and coloring books and money, obviously, and they started crying. The pictures down here is on the left, we're playing cards on our resort, and on the right is Havana. You can't really see that it's a poor area or whatever. It just looks beautiful, and it really is. The future of tourism in Unit 6. That's interesting for Cuba. Cuba mostly would be concerned of the exogenous variables from figure 27.2 in the textbook. It talks about this. Um, this concept is about tourism changing due to technology, sustainability concerns, and global challenges. When I traveled, I used a digital boarding pass. We booked online, and we used mobile apps to get around and like as a map and whatnot. So the future of tourism also focuses on sustainability, and that's good because Cuba coastlines and coral reefs are vulnerable to all that kind of stuff, especially climate change, rising sea levels, and whatnot. But for Cuba, I'm kind of nervous, as this could make tourism more expensive, and that could definitely increase the already large wealth gap of the country. So that would be interesting to see how that unfolds. My critical reflection, there are my sources on the slide here. My critical reflection, uh, before I, before this course, I mostly saw travel as a form of relaxation and escape. I didn't really think about what happens behind the scenes. It really is an industry. After learning about it, I understood that I understand that my trip to Cuba was like a little part of a large system. It involved airlines, resorts, tour operators, government regulations, environmental management, and even more. I started to I'm starting now to realize our carbon emissions, our water use, and what the local workers had to do for us for sure. I also recognize that tourism can create both positive and negative impacts, especially in a less developed destination like Cuba, where people may depend heavily on this income. Thank you. That's all I got.